had a large fan base comprised of like children for the most part, but still, at least like they weren't like extremely online. Now it's all like the fucking 4chan groypers. You know what I mean? It's all like the weirdest fucking dorks that are like tater tots and talk about how they would never date a woman if you know, she said Andrew Tate is caca. Meanwhile, you know, you're never going to date a woman anyway, so you don't have to worry about that. You should worry about the top of the hour ad break, which comes at the top of every hour, Aiden Ross fans, where you will be seeing a 3-minute ad break. If you no longer want to see those ads, of course, all you need to do is subscribe, which you can do for $5 or for free with a Twitch Prime, by connecting your Amazon Prime account to your Twitch account, where you get 1 free Prime subscription a month. They got, what, involved on Twitter? That's why they're trying to bait you? I don't know what the fuck is happening on Twitter. I can't even log on to my Twitter account, so I'm good. Thank you, though. Hate watchers are so pathetic. His hate watchers are even more pathetic than the average hate watcher. His hate watchers make LSF commenters look normal, which is saying something. Anyway, the 3-minute ad break is upon us. The funniest is when people go, dude, it's happening on Twitter, and it's like actually not happening. Nothing is happening, but they're just trying to make it happen. So they come in here, a platform where there's like a lot more activity. Because if it was happening over there, they would just stay there. You know?
Remember, just feel it. You're on Kobo. The Mogo Wampa thing is coming. You're not scared. Show me focused. Hold it. You get 2 lightsabers?
Oh, technically 1, but I can split them.
You never gave me 2 lightsabers.
Mark?
Unlimited 5G for just $25.
Every Samsung Galaxy 5G. Perfect.
You're perfect. I love you. Oh.
Get a free 5G phone now at Metro.
Ring on here. You need parts? eBay Motors ensures a guaranteed fit. Hey, Dave.
Yep. Wait.
How are those new wipers?
Small. They're small.
Just go to eBay Motors, where the check means a guaranteed fit. Let's ride.
We're trying very hard not to vape. We're about to sign up for This Is Quitting. Write a breakup letter to your mate. It felt empowering taking the steps to quit. Done. Text Join Josh to 88709.
Hey dude, meet the Sirocco. The sneaker built for running the table. Hey dude shoes.
They said go for a drive, and these snaps have been unbeatable. So we're getting Chevron with Techron for unbeatable mileage. Paying with the Chevron app makes this stop a snap, a very quiet snap. Unbeatable mileage for unbeatable drives.
It fits our space.
Fits our budget.
And I did this. Yes, this is true. I did do this. Now that I'm logged on, I can actually finally. No, dude, listen. Stop. Stop with this fucking noise. These people are fucking actual brain-broken dipshits, okay? Please. Wait, why didn't I like it? I'm trying to like it. Oh, there it is. Chad is desperate for misery. I know. It's like, dude, it's really awful because, like, you don't realize you are elevating this to something that's, like, real. You know what I mean? When it's not. It's bullshit. Like, these are absolute fucking losers that's in a Discord server all goddamn day to try to, like, make shit happen. Okay? I'm not gonna sit here and worry about this dumb shit. Come on. I know Trump is doing a CNN town hall. Yes, Trump to appear on CNN town hall in New Hampshire. Yeah, he's back. He's so back. Born a simulation? What the fuck is that book, bro?
45books.com. It is a fascinating book, Mr. President. He had a good relationship with Michael Douglas, a good relationship with his father. At one point, he had a good relationship with Schwarzenegger. He has become one of the radicals on this climate change and was very critical of you later. What do you think it is? We talked about it being politics, but they're particularly angry with you. Do you think it's because you were effective? Do you think it's because, like now, you're able to articulate these things in plain English? You have a connection with working men and women. What do you think it is beyond politics?
So, with Arnold Schwarzenegger, when I said I'm not doing The Apprentice, they wanted to give me a 5-year extension on The Apprentice. I was doing great. Even with 14 seasons, I was doing great. So NBC came up, they won. And I said, no, I'm going to run for president. They couldn't believe it. I remember Mark Burnett, who's a great guy, saying, you don't understand. They want to give you an extension. Nobody turns down an...
You can't convince me that Trump going on Mark Levin is a L. Trump going on Mark Levin is an L, okay? Straight up. Karl Lagerfeld will tell Trump he's too fat. I mean, and then Trump would say, you're dead.
An extension. Nobody
I don't
ever.
care. You're dead. Bye-bye.
Actually, there were 1 or 2 that did, okay? But nobody ever turns down to be a... No movie star does, because television, you're on every week. With a movie, you're up once a year, maybe, okay? Depending on how long it takes to make the movie. I said, no, I want to do this, Mark. I've done it for 14 seasons, 12 years, 14 seasons. I had a couple that were doubled up. And it's been a tremendous success. And they wanted to keep it going. And they tried. We tried Martha Stewart, and she failed. We tried. Then I said, who do you want to have replace me? Because I own it with Mark Burnett. And I said, who do you think it would be? And I thought it was a good idea. They said, do you think we could get Arnold Schwarzenegger? And even movie stars want to have primetime television. You know, it's a lot of people don't realize that, but a lot of them do. Because in many ways, it's bigger in terms of certain things. So they said, we're going to go and ask Arnold Schwarzenegger to do it. First of all, they were very angry at me. They came at the whole NBC group, every executive, they came up. They said, you got to be crazy. You don't have a chance. You're not going to, we want you to sign. And, you know, they're throwing millions and millions of dollars a show at me. And I'm saying, no, they never had that before. I said, no, I want to do it. And, you know, I guess people would say it was a long shot. I didn't feel it was such a long shot because I saw polls that when 4 years before, they put my name in a poll with Romney, and I blew Romney out the window, but who wouldn't? So what happens is, I said, no, I want to run. And maybe that's why NBC has such unbelievable hostility to me. But they say that, I always said it was the opposite. I said, well, one group I know is going to treat me well, that's NBC, because I made them a lot of money, and I had the #1 show a lot of nights, and, you know, et cetera, et cetera. Because, you know, when I did The Apprentice, they had no top 10 shows, none. They were dying. And this thing was a rocket. This was a real success. And it lasted for years. So what happened is I said, that sounds good. Go ahead. Good luck with it. And it was Arnold Schwarzenegger. And he bombed like you wouldn't believe. The people, you know, they have the meters. People turned it on to watch, and within 15 minutes, every set was off. It was a disaster. He's much better at The Terminator than he was at The Apprentice. And he's just a different kind of a guy. He wasn't a very successful governor in California.
Respect.
He didn't do a very good job. And he supported Kasich. So when I heard he was supporting Kasich, I said, he's not my kind of guy. And then after Kasich, he supported crooked Hillary Clinton. So between the two of them, so I haven't been to, and in fact, a lot of people
My mother didn't care for the Arnold Apprentice. Okay, big L for Arnold.
said, hey, would you have rather had Arnold on The Apprentice? Make it big, because you own the show with Mark, and Mark Burnett and that whole group, who by the way is fantastic. Would you have rather had to be a tremendous success and make, or would you have rather had him fail badly? I said, probably fail. It's one of those little things. But he did fail. And yeah, he's very extreme on the environment.
Obama left you a letter.
What does that mean? Like, what does extreme on the environment mean? Like, what an insane way to frame shit. He was very extreme on the environment. He wanted to save it, folks. It's fucked up.
I guess that's the practice now. They put it in the drawer at the Resolute desk or something. And it's a letter that I think he writes for history, but he didn't really mean. Because he says in the letter, among other things, if you need any help, let me know. You become president, and he does everything he can to undermine you, and so do his people.
Wait, what? Barack Obama didn't do shit, dog. What do you mean? He, like, barely tweeted that you were bad. You know what I mean? Like... Yeah, he undermined Trump by what? Like fucking hanging out with Jay-Z and Beyonce and shit? Is that how he undermined Trump? I don't get it.
What did you make of that letter when you read it?
I thought it was a beautiful letter, handwritten letter. It was, sounded like it was from the heart. But don't forget, they spied on my campaign. They created the fake dossier. The dossier was a fake about Trump in Moscow with hookers and everything. It was a fake. It was all made up.
Barack Obama fucked off and didn't show face until it was time for, like, election season, okay? Get the fuck out of here.
And steal. All made up. And it was paid for by the Democrat Party and crooked Hillary Clinton. The whole thing was a fake. So they spied on my campaign, think of it. How about if we spied on their campaign? You would have talked about the death penalty. Let's reinstitute the death penalty. They spied in the campaign, and it's just incredible. But one of the problems I would have had with Obama, I got along with him very well during the transition. Very nice. His wife was very nice, both of them. But one of the problems with Obama is we really are different in the sense that I felt so differently about things than he did. In Europe, they loved him because he allowed Europe to rip us off. They said they like him better in Germany. They should like him better in Germany. Okay? They should, because I didn't allow Germany to get away with what they were doing. I sent Angela Merkel a white flag of surrender because I said, when you made the deal with Putin, you're getting 68% of your energy from somebody that you've had numerous wars with, world wars. I said, so I'm going to give you the white flag. This way you don't have to look it up when you surrender to Russia someday. And if you remember, I made a speech at the United Nations, and the Russian delegation thought it was extremely funny when I mentioned that they shouldn't be doing it. A year later, most of those guys were fired. They were fired because I turned out to be right. You know what Germany's doing now, if you take a look at this, Germany, it's unbelievable. They're building all coal plants, hundreds of coal-fired plants. But they tried doing a deal with Russia. I was the one that exposed it, Nord Stream 2. Nobody ever heard of Nord Stream 2. I said, wait a minute, you have a massive pipeline going through all of Europe, and Russia will dominate Europe if you do that, because all they have to do is say, we're going to turn off your energy. That's the end of Europe. I can't understand why somebody would allow that to happen, but I I disagreed with Merkel. And I got along actually well with her. But I disagreed with that, and I disagreed on her allowing 2 million people in from the Middle East. And that goes for Sweden and other countries, too, because those countries are not the same.
All right, let's get to Biden and the border last week tonight with John Oliver.
Our main story tonight concerns immigration. It's the reason I'm here. Well, the reason I'm in this country, not the reason I exist. The reason for that should be obvious. A tax accountant fucked a stork, and voila, here I am. Specifically, we're going to talk about the situation on our southern border. And I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, finally, someone is going to address the magnificent statue in El Paso known as Pile of Gators, featuring what looks like a bunch of horny reptiles engaging in a sloppy swamp orgy. But while that is certainly a situation on the border, it is sadly not the situation, which refers to what's going on with migrants down there. And if you ask politicians on the right, that situation can best be summed up like this.
Our border is wide open and out of control, and Americans are dying because of it.
The truth is that there is an invasion happening at our southern border.
Migrants are absolutely invading this country.
Our country is under attack. America is being invaded. No American is safe.
OK, let's first acknowledge the irony of cowardly freaking out about migrants in front of a sign that reads, Mr. Strong. Never before has a nameplate felt so intensely sarcastic, but also, setting aside the blatant xenophobia there, are the two of you wearing matching outfits? Because it sure feels like you met up at Men's Warehouse, made a beeline for the Caucasian collection, picked out the exact same suit, and then wore it like Tweedledum and Tweedledeportation. The right has been fear-mongering about immigration even more than usual lately. And to be fair, actually, I don't have to be fair, fuck them. But to be fairer than they actually deserve, there is a lot happening at the border right now. The number of migrant encounters there, which was rising before Biden came into office, reached a record high last year. Now, that has happened for a number of reasons, including that we're coming out of a global pandemic, and multiple countries from Haiti to Venezuela to Ukraine are in crisis right now. So there's a high number of people forced to flee their homes. Plus, some asylum seekers may understandably have been encouraged by Biden's rhetoric on the campaign trail, which was notably different than his opponents.
Look, I can only imagine what it's like to see someone in your family deported.
That's right.
I can only imagine what that's like. And to me, it's all about family. Beginning, middle, and end. It's about family. That's not going to happen in my administration. The idea you can't even seek asylum on American soil? Can't even seek asylum on American soil? When did that happen? Trump. It's wrong.
You're going to change that?
Yes, I am.
Yeah, it's all about family, beginning, middle and end, whatever the fuck that means. A pretty empty phrase from a presidential candidate, but to be honest, a pretty good tagline for Fast 10. It's only mildly less comprehensible than the end of the road begins. But at the time, that promise sounded good. It is worth remembering that even if Biden wasn't your favourite candidate, even if he was your least favourite candidate, after 4 years of Trump, that was pretty refreshing. It's like wandering through the Sahara Desert for 4 years and all of a sudden seeing a Panera. I mean, it's not necessarily paradise in its own right, but compared with what you just went through, you would kill for an Asiago turkey sandwich and a lemonade. No question. Promises like that are why we cited Biden's potential to undo Trump's damage on immigration as a key reason to vote for him just a week before the election. Now, did we make the difference? Who can say? Nurses are the real heroes. Unfortunately, though, when it comes to the southern border, Biden has disappointed in a lot of ways. But it is not because he's opened up the country to an invasion. It's actually in many ways the opposite. Many migrants, including asylum seekers, are finding it impossible to access this country through our ports of entry, and the conditions that they're facing are dire. In many border cities, shelters and detention centres are reportedly near capacity, with the director of one of them saying, every day I turn away at least 10 families with children. And just last month, at least 40 people died when a migrant centre caught fire. And frustratingly, a lot of this has been exacerbated by US policies that are well within Biden's power to remedy, and yet he hasn't. And that is basically what our story is about tonight. It's about what Biden promised to do, what he has and hasn't done, and how his latest efforts to fix things might actually make them worse. And first, let's acknowledge it is impossible to assess what Biden has done at the border without looking at what he inherited. Trump campaigned on high-octane xenophobia, and his policies reflected that, from large-scale family separation to attacking DACA to his so-called Remain in Mexico policy, which led to massive encampments of would-be asylum seekers south of the border. And Trump approached all of it with his signature clarity.
The immigration laws are horrible. We're doing an incredible job. We're doing a record-breaking job, but we have bad laws. You know, when you have bad laws, you can do good, but you can do a lot better if you had good laws.
OK. I mean, that is total gibberish, but if you look at what he's saying closely there, you'll find it's also, and this is true, a haiku. I'm kidding, it absolutely isn't, but wouldn't it be great if it was? If that buffoon was capable of accidental beauty, but it's not, and he isn't, so we're back to square one. Now, to Biden's credit, he created a task force to reunify the separated families, he strengthened protections around DACA, and he suspended the Remain in Mexico policy. And yet, there remain huge numbers of people stuck just south of the border in camps that look an awful lot like the ones that were there during Trump. And a significant reason for that has to do with a policy called Title 42, which allows the US to kick migrants out of the country with shocking ease. And we've talked about it before, but just as a refresher, it's not actually an immigration law at all. It is an arcane public health order aimed at preventing the spread of communicable diseases. The Trump administration implemented it in March of 2020, invoking it as a safety precaution intended to prevent COVID-19 from spreading through Border Patrol stations. But the truth is, long before COVID, its use had been floated by Stephen Miller, a child's answer to the prompt, draw Squidward from memory. In fact, the invocation of Title 42 was referred to as a Stephen Miller special. He was all over that, a sentence I truly hope no one has to speak or hear ever again. And Miller has bragged about Title 42's sweeping powers.
The principle of it is very simple, which is that during a pandemic, if you come into this country, your very presence here, if you enter unlawfully, is a threat to our public health. Full stop.
Glad that this Title 42 is still, you know, functionally working and has been utilized for like the damn near entirety of the Biden presidency.
You go home.
OK, first, I'm pretty sure if you played the sound of Stephen Miller's voice in a maternity ward, a newborn infant would instinctively say, despite not having any knowledge of the English language, shut the fuck up. Because that threat to our public health line was bullshit. While Trump claimed that the order originated with the CDC, one former health official said that they were effectively forced to implement it, adding it was either do it or get fired. In fact, the CDC scientist said there was no evidence Title 42 would actually slow the spread of coronavirus. But the reason Trump seized on it is pretty obvious. Under normal circumstances, migrants have the legal right to ask for asylum no matter where they cross the border. But like Incel Caillou said, Title 42 gave the government the power to rapidly expel any migrant without giving them an opportunity to make a case for staying in the country legally, including to seek asylum. And you would hope that upon taking office, Biden would move as fast as possible to get rid of it. But instead, his administration has been all over the place. Just a few months into his presidency, his Secretary of Homeland Security sent this message to potential migrants.
The message is quite clear. Do not come. The border is closed. The border is secure. We are expelling families. We are
fucking Kamala Harris, too.
Expelling single adults under the CDC's authority, under Title 42 of the United States Code, because we are in the midst of...
Do I scare you?
Why would you scare me?
Because I'm starting to see past the mask.
What mask?
Oh, there are dozens. Everything you know is a lie. Can I trust you?
Of course.
You have all the ingredients in your fridge.
Loud.
But ask yourself this.
Loud.
Of all the times you've made it at home, has it ever tasted like ours?
Fight me.
That's your mouth?
She looked bigger in the photos.
I just got a legendary.
have issued humanitarian exemptions to Title 42. It's estimated that around 187,000 migrants were granted exemptions.
It's like weird that you don't issue that across the board, though.
From May of last year to just last month. But not only is that a fraction of those seeking asylum, the administration has been criticised for a lack of clarity and consistency in who is eligible. And in general, some have argued that there's been a pretty glaring discrepancy in who the country has and hasn't decided to allow in.
At a migrant shelter in Tijuana, Mexico, claims of a double standard. Special treatment for Ukrainians fleeing the war and being admitted to the U.S.
I love that the government is helping them because they're going through a really hard situation.
But that's not what happens for people here.
Exactly. We should all be treated the same way.
How do you guys account for the difference in the treatment between them and you guys? Racism.
Yeah, of course. Racism is the answer to so many questions like why are some people treated differently at the border, why did Roseanne Barr get fired, and why does your grandpa insist on pronouncing Kamala the way that he does? And Title 42, including Biden's expanded use of it, has functionally robbed people of their basic right to make an asylum case for themselves, which can be devastating. Just listen to this Honduran migrant talk about getting all the way to America with his family on the presumption he'd be able to apply for asylum, only to be taken into custody and woken up one day with an unpleasant surprise.
One of us asked, "Where are you taking us? Is it true we're being deported?" They said, "No, we're not deporting you. We're taking you to a shelter, and you can keep going from there." And that was a lie. They tricked us. When we got off the bus, we saw the sign that said Tijuana, Baja California. That's when we realized we'd been sent back.
So you didn't realize until you were already in Mexico?
Right, once we were already here.
Look, that is clearly not how immigration policy should work. Under no circumstances should people on a bus be lied to about where it's going, unless, that is, it's a bachelorette party bus and they're demanding to be taken to another bar even though one of them already threw up on a pigeon. In that case, and that case alone, you say, sure, you swing by CVS for some Pedialyte and you take them back to their Airbnb. And because many migrants can't return to the country that they were fleeing, they wind up stuck on our southern border or trying repeatedly to get back into the country, often at their own peril. More than 890 migrants died in border crossings last year, making it the deadliest year since the US government began tracking border crossing deaths. And for those stuck in Mexico, the experience can be harrowing. One group found that since 2021, there have been over 13,000 reports of murder, torture, kidnapping, rape and other violent attacks on migrants and asylum seekers blocked in or expelled to Mexico under Title 42. Now, the good news is Title 42 may be about to expire. And the reason for that is when the broader COVID public health emergency ends on May 11th, Title 42 is expected to expire with it. The bad news, though, is that even with over 2 years to plan, Biden's new proposed rule may not be much of an improvement. For one thing, asylum seekers will now be expected to make an appointment at a port of entry through a new government app that Biden proudly announced in January.
If they're seeking asylum, they can use an app on their cell phone called CBP1, O-N-E, CBP1, O-N-E. That's to spell it out, not the number one.
Oh, well, thanks for spelling it out. That helps a great deal. This is that app. And as you can see, its icon apparently features, and I honestly don't know what else this could be, a Border Patrol agent with a raging boner. It has been in use since January as a way for people to request exemptions to Title 42, and the early results aren't great.
Every morning at 9 a.m., women frantically try to refresh the government app, hoping to get an appointment to enter the U.S. We watch with Karina Braceda, who runs the shelter. By 9:05, all the appointments and hope were gone.
It's lottery with people's lives, with people's families, with people's livelihoods, with people's well-being.
That is horrible. We clearly should not be placing people's fate in the hands of a smartphone app. And don't get me wrong, apps can serve a lot of functions. For example, this one is for messaging your friends. This one is for receiving robocalls. This one is for seeing what your mom is up to. This one is for accidentally turning it on, muttering shit, and finally turning it off after a minimum of 3 tries. This one is for watching democracy crumble while Cher tweets the most baffling series of emojis that you've ever seen. And this one is for looking at photos of pugs who make a better living than you do. The point here is, we use apps for many purposes, but reserving an appointment to try and secure the safety of your family probably shouldn't be one of them. As of right now, only about 740 people per day can get appointments through the app. But since there are obviously far more people who need them, a day's appointments can run out within minutes, which is why some have dubbed the app Asylum Ticketmaster, a truly terrifying combination of words. And just take a moment to appreciate quite how shitty of a company Ticketmaster is. People saw vulnerable migrants being robbed of their ability to seek asylum and thought, hey, you know what this reminds me of? Ticketmaster, a company about concerts. What's more, many asylum seekers have outdated cell phones, if they have them at all, that don't support the CBP1 app and often have limited or no access to the internet. And on top of all of this, it requires people to upload a selfie. And its facial recognition technology has worked better for some than for others.
Even for digitally savvy migrants, the experience has been a challenge.
It doesn't want to scan. It doesn't want to scan his face.
They say the app has glitches, and some even claim the facial recognition feature malfunctions for those with darker skin.
I get up to the option to scan my face, but it asks to get closer and closer, but it doesn't do anything. And that's the problem, that it takes a long time to load, and that's where it fails. So we try it again.
Yeah, pretty bad. At one shelter in Reynosa, they even had to install bright construction lights for people with darker skin to shine on their face.
Finally, some fucking, like, support. I thought I was going crazy. I'm glad that Mudahar joined and is talking about Aiden Ross and a fellow group of streamers who've been using the content ID system to harm the platform. Jesus. I mean, it's crazy that they were doing this. It's crazy that they were doing this for so long. And it went unnoticed. Like, I had no fucking clue they were doing this shit. You know what I mean? It's actually insane how quick you get dogpiled. I know. Like... Actman is, like, on board, too. I saw... Who will the right-wing YouTuber mogul male support? Probably not Aiden. Like, the only people that will come out and, like, say wishy-washy shit that, like, kind of is in support of Aiden are going to be Twitch streamers who think that, like, the audience actually great. The broader majority of people fucking hate me because they see it in their chats. Okay? I'll keep it a $1.50. The only people that will... Even XQC didn't shit on me, but, like... The reality of the situation is these guys are fucking being monstrously bad. And it's something that YouTubers are very aware of. It's something that, like, this is a game that has been played on YouTube many, many times over. No one has done it in such a flagrantly abusive way as they admit that they're doing it in a flagrantly abusive way. Which is, you know, which is why I was shocked at first that, like... Which is why I was shocked at first that, like, people were not talking about it. Even if it's not about me, the other YouTubers that are much smaller than me that Aiden Ross is, like, maliciously fucking targeting is unacceptable. Like, that's crazy. You know what I mean? But again, it does feel a little lonely at times, especially on Twitch, because some of the most, like, you know, clippable content creators are rarely ever, like, boisterously supporting me in circumstances, even when I get fucking DMCA'd and it's like a very clear flagrant abuse or anything like that. So it does sometimes feel lonely on Twitch, but I'm glad that, like, YouTubers are paying attention. Like, why are people, especially content creators, doing the whole, but you have you considered legally blah, blah, blah? Man, fuck that. Because it's an easy and snide way, in my opinion, to fucking fire off. Fire one off without saying anything. You know what I mean? They did the same shit when H3 fought their case. Is it possible you're wrong and should consult a lawyer? What do you mean? Wrong on what grounds? I've been DMCA'd. If they fucking take it, they take it. There's no like, what are you talking about? It's also just, it's not just me. You understand that, right? Like what Aiden did is completely fucked up. Everyone, even if they're like, well, technically he has the right to do it. Everyone understands what he did is completely fucked up. You get that, right? Like I've yet to hear from a single person, even if they're like wishy-washy on it and they're like, well, he has the legal grounds to do so. I've yet to hear from a single person going, yeah, actually, what Aiden is doing is completely in the right, except for like, 14-year-old Aiden dick riders. You know what I mean? But it's not even just about myself. It's not even about myself.
Yes.
Okay? Because the myself part of the situation is one thing. Okay? It's fucked up. What Aiden did to me is incredibly fucked up. That's why there's not like a lot of clear boundaries on whether or not this is even appropriate or accept. Well, everyone knows it's inappropriate, but like whether or not this is legally permissible.
I'll be back
But
in a bit.
what Aiden is doing to all these other people who he considers ops is quite literally malicious and a clear-cut violation of DMCA abuse. He is being like he's behaving like a patent troll.